Good morning, everyone. It's Ben Buckner and Dan Bossie with Ag Resource Company in Chicago. It's Thursday, May 29th. We've got markets that are steady to weaker in the ag space, kind of boring, and even financial markets doing very little. We've got some interesting developments, but I think it's kind of fundamental supply and demand with respect to corn, wheat, and soybeans. The hot news in the financial markets this morning, or at least what's different, is the Court of International Trade in the U.S. has at least temporarily struck down reciprocal tariffs implemented by the U.S. on other nations outside of China. Those are still in place. And so it kind of adds to uncertainty. I guess we know even less about future trade flows and policy than we did yesterday. But also we've got to contend with, I think, it's always the two biggest factors are weather, government policies. And I think since it is the end of May, weather is far more important at this point than trade policies. Dan, break down your thoughts on the news this morning.
Well, good morning, everyone, and good morning, Ben. Yeah, it is about Trump temporarily being upended by the trade courts. Now, Trump still, of course, has other levers that he can pull to get tariffs back in place. Different sections like 301, 292 are two that come to mind. So I imagine even if this takes some time, and it's 10 days before the tariffs completely would come off, that indeed Trump will have some tariff activity back on. So I believe negotiations will be forthcoming. Again, remember that when we think about tariffs, this is for goods coming into the United States. This is not U.S. corn, soybeans, and wheat leaving. This is things like Australia beef, Brazilian beef, different egg products coming into the United States, maybe butter from Ireland. These are the kind of things that we all think about. So, maybe there's a window that some of those tariffs go to zero for a short period of time, but I think it will be a short period of time. Maybe more worrisome to me is how this puts a pause on negotiations. If you think about the U.S. and China, they are negotiating right now in terms of a trade deal. If you're the Chinese, think about possibility that, well, maybe this trade law or these tariffs won't stick. And so why is there a push to negotiate with the United States? Those deadlines are still there. July 9th for many countries under the April 2nd reciprocal tariffs. If we look at China, it's the middle of August. And so our window is really narrowing, especially on China, to get a trade deal done. So I worry that this upending by the trade court causes more uncertainty and pushes timelines back, which is not a good thing for American agriculture if we're looking to bring demand forward. So to me, Ben, that's the key kind of going forward. Other than that, I think as you step back from the markets here today, we've mentioned this yesterday, but I want to highlight it again today. Just notice how world wheat pricing, Russian and other values have just collapsed in the last couple of days here. So the Russian wheat market is repriced itself. This morning we're 224 bid. Russia's looking for demand. They do have some July sales on the books, which is kind of helping at least nearby. But I look for Russian wheat to continue to stay under pressure. And so the window for U.S. HRW or SRW to be exported to North Africa or the Middle East is now closed. It doesn't mean we can't sell wheat into Mexico or maybe Latin America. But this sharp price drop relative to what's happening in the Black Sea now puts us at a non-competitive position again. And unless there's weather at price, could drop, if you will, back to testing lows we saw a bushel relative to wheat futures. Similar situation in corn. As you think about it, when we look at corn and we go backwards, one slide too many. When we look at corn, corn from Brazil and Argentina is now the most competitive in the world. And what's got my attention this morning is that Brazil is now offering corn at a lower price than the U.S. Gulf all the way to December. So it's the Argentinians nearby, which are 20 cents a bushel cheaper for the month of July and August. Then the Brazilians come forward and they become more aggressive, if you will. Brazil is rumored to have a very big corn crop. Some people put the corn crop between 135 and 144 million metric tons. Now, again, that's a wide range and we're early days in harvesting in terms of Mato Grosso. But if we do have a Brazilian corn crop at around a 140 million metric ton, that works back to about 100 bushels per acre as an average yield for Brazil. Then, of course, the Brazilians are going to be selling corn all the way into the first quarter of next year. So this is detrimental to the U.S. export program. I do not see any way that USDA's new crop corn export estimate of 2.675 billion bushels has any chance of being right. I would look for a number closer to 2.3 to 2.4, which if you look at that puts, of course, U.S. end stocks in corn back at around 2.2 to 2.4 billion bushels for the 25-26 crop year. Then if you look at weather, which again, I think is the leading price determinant here, at least for the next couple of weeks. Notice in the rainfall, 10-day rainfall map to your left, we've got plenty of rain for the plains, the Delta, and into the Midwest. And then if you look at the 11 to 15-day forecast on your right, that moisture really continues. Now, the weather models are varied in terms of whether that rain is across the Delta or the Midwest. Our lean at Ag Resources, it's being pulled northward in the 11-15 timeframe, more to the Midwest, but there's no evidence of what I would call a stagnant weather pattern, a lasting high pressure ridge, which causes drought concern. You know, it's got to stop raining first, Ben, before we really have a drought issue, and that just hasn't happened, at least here this morning. Lastly, I think which is going to be favorable for crops, this is a temperature map looking forward to about the period of the middle of the early part of June. Again, temperatures are going to be in the 80s across much of the Midwest, 80s and a few low 90s. We're going to see some upper 70s across the northern plains. This is all really good for looking forward. This is a temperature map, as I said here, for the 13th of June. So as you look forward, warmer, wetter weather favors the crop, at least hitting into the middle of June. Thereafter, maybe a ridge comes, maybe it doesn't. Like I said, it has to stop raining first. There's no evidence, at least today, of pattern stagnation, Ben. So we'll look at the markets in terms of being in a downside slant unless something happens with the weather, at least on a longer term perspective. So I don't know, Ben. To me, we're still in kind of a bearish trends here. December corn maybe falls to 430, 435. The soybean market, November beans falls to 1010, 1020. Wheat maybe 505, as I said before, and then we'll see what happens. Let's see what the summer weather pattern. We can't take all the weather premium out yet, but boy, based on the aggressiveness overseas, we need a story for the bulls to sharpen their horns on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly correct. And things we're doing with our research the rest of this week and into next week, and again, dollar gets you in for 30 days. It's kind of quantifying, I think, supply risks, which are being adjusted, at least based on new West weather to date, 2-week forecast. Also, the unceasing nature of rainfall in Brazil's Safrina Belt. It's still going to rain in parts of Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná. It's highly abnormal. So those higher crop estimates, we'll debate what it is in reality, but I think it is getting bigger, not smaller. So it's been 9 years since we've really grown global major crop yields, and we'll be kind of assessing the risk that maybe this is the year we finally kind of cross some threshold and we are increasing yields more normally. And that's, I think, a big deal for prices over the next 6 months. So again, check out that research. We'll be putting it out for the next couple of days. And so if you got nothing else, all the bets in the markets today, and we will be back tomorrow.